is Saurabh, and you're listening to my favorite talk show, The Weekly Show with Aditya.
This is episode 159 on the 22nd of January 2000 and the build-up to the India-New Zealand series has been billed as the battle between the two most astute captains in the cricketing business, Ice Cool Kane versus the heated-up Kohli. With Dhawan not available for the New Zealand tour, it gives Kohli a lot of options as Rahul has taken the mantle of keeping, thereby allowing him to keep an extra bowler or an extra batter. It won't be a surprise that both Kohli and Williamson decide to open, which would give the likes of Shreyas Iyer a chance to show their skills at number 3. It also means that Rishabh Pant may not get a chance and India might go with an extra spinner, means that the team is most likely to be Rohit and Kohli as the openers, Iyer at number 3, Pandey at number 4, Rahul at number 5, and Washington Sundar at number 6, and then an extended bowling lineup in Kuldeep, the three fast bowlers in Bumrah, Saini and Shami, which means the much wanted Kulcha combination would be united. Though this is a good bowling lineup, it does affect the batting lineup, meaning there is an extended tail. It puts the pressure on the top 5 batters to perform. That's the gamble they have to take, and 20 overs is all about experimentation and gambling, and this 5-match 20-over championship will be the precursor to the 20-over World Cup, as the conditions in New Zealand are closest to the conditions in Australia, though the grounds in New Zealand are the smallest grounds ever seen in any part of the world. And if the New Zealand T20 domestic championship is anything to go by, if that tournament is taken as a baseline, then totals around 200 are going to be a reality. This dilemma of Rahul to open or not to open will always be a conundrum, and the build-up for this tournament is also important because India and New Zealand faced each other ever since the semi-final of the World Cup, and as the build-up will grow every day till the 24th of January, only one word will be on the minds of the passive stakeholders: take the revenge for the heartbreak in the semi-finals and New Zealanders being partially responsible for MS Dhoni taking such a long break. Remember, it was Martin Guptill who ran out MS Dhoni, thereby ending India's campaign at the semi-final stage itself. But that's the nature of the sport, and that's how we are supposed to take it with open arms. And it's not just about the New Zealand T20 domestic championship. If the New Zealand-England T20 series, which happened earlier in 2019, is something to go by, big totals are on the card and bowlers' economy rate are going to be spoiled. So the question will be, will India go with an extra bowler or an extra batter? Means there is a choice between Pant and Dubey versus Chahal. So Chahal might get the green light because there was a clamour for the Kulcha combination to be restarted again. New Zealand always had small grounds for whatever reason, but they never came into focus until the last couple of years, especially because of the way the 20-over match changed the definition of hitting, and now small grounds and boundaries being brought up That is, there is a gap between the boundary ropes and the advertising hoardings, which were also never a focus. But now, because of the catches being taken at the boundary and the definition of catching changing from simple catches to superhuman catches, boundary dimension have suddenly become an important discourse as far as this sport is concerned, and therefore Chehel, who is known for playing in smaller grounds in his T20 domestic teams in Bangalore and Haryana, which have small grounds, Chehel may get the green light ahead of Dubey or an extra batter. The most distressing part is how the timings of the match are curated, especially and made different when the Indian team toes that country. For example, the 20-over matches are scheduled at 12:30 p.m. Indian time, which in turn means 8 o'clock local time in New Zealand. If this was any other country touring New Zealand, the match would have started at 6:30 local time. Even their own domestic match either starts at 5:30 local time or 6:30 local time. But the way the Indian board bullies the New Zealand board is apparent here. Hence, there is a presumption that, especially on a Sunday, Indian viewers won't watch the match at 9 a.m. Indian Standard Time, which translates to 4:30 local time in New Zealand. They have curated the time so as to favor the Indian viewers. Even if there is inconvenience for the local population, who will be forced to watch the match at 8 p.m. local time, and the match will often extend to 12 a.m. local time next day. Even this is nothing. Look at the way the one-day matches are scheduled. Generally, the one-day matches would start at 2 p.m. local time New Zealand, which means 6:30 local time India. But for the Indian team and the Indian viewers, the matches have been specially scheduled at 3 p.m. local time in New Zealand, which means 7:30 a.m. local time in India. And such discussions were never a factor before, but now with the focus so much on the sport and broadcasters and sponsors taking a direct role in the scheduling of the matches and all such logistical issues, such discussions have come to light once again. For example, a test match would start at 4 a.m. local time, and this is not the first time a test match is being scheduled in New Zealand. As far as New Zealand has been hosting India or any other country, test match have been starting at 3:30 a.m. local time or 4 a.m. local time, depending on the time difference. But now, with the media, the broadcasters taking such a direct interest in such petty matters such as scheduling and how it's about getting the maximum viewers, even a 4 a.m. start is being questioned. Why should there be a 4 a.m. start? Ignorance shown by the media and the broadcasters as far as the time difference is concerned is quite shocking. But then one has to understand that over 20 years ago, even when India was touring New Zealand and the schedule was around the same, that the match would start at 4 a.m. Indian time to keep it in tune with the time difference. Nobody even thought about this because the media was not directly involved. But 20 years later, with the involvement of the media, which is hyperactive and concerned about scheduling issues and times, their ignorance about the time difference is quite perplexing. And then there is the scheduling of a 20-over match on the 26th of January. Means there is no effort to keep sports and the pseudo idea of nationalism away. It will become even more when the match is scheduled and the anchors start linking everything to 26th January, and the idea of national anthem takes a different tinge. How is Republic Day in any way linked to a sports? That's a question that is quite sensitive for a few fringe groups, and such scheduling are also deliberately made so as to get the patriotic fervor in individuals and link it to sports. Which means that India by design and default will have to win the match on 26th January so that they can keep the patriotic and nationalistic flag flying high. Though it is a coincidence that because the match would always be scheduled on a Sunday, and if Sunday turned out to be 26th January, it's nothing more than a coincidence. This was the only schedule possible because of India's previous tournament versus Australia, which ended on 19th of January, and one knows that the travel to New Zealand would often take 12 to 14 hours, and the team would need the much required rest before they could begin the tournament. Another question which has been floating around is, should there be more gaps between two matches so as to allow everyone to take a breather, which includes the active stakeholders in the coaches, the captains, the team management, the team overall, as well as the broadcasters and the indirect stakeholders in the individuals who watch the match. I find this scheduling question quite perplexing because if you see in hockey, there are no gaps between two matches. It means that hockey teams play two matches on two consecutive days, then there is a rest day, and then they play two matches on two consecutive days. But the difference between cricket and hockey is that the matches are only played in one location, while in cricket, the matches are played in different centers across a country. Therefore, one has to take into account the traveling and the logistical costs. Such debates about timings and scheduling of the matches which are suddenly cropping up today because everyone is saying that the matches are cramped. If you look at the previous schedules, the matches were always cramped. You cannot have more than a couple of days break between two matches. Only difference in a tour schedule of a country in the present times and over 20 years ago is that the T20 factor makes the tour even more tiring. And therefore, one feels that the schedules are cramped or the teams don't have time to rest. The question is, who makes the schedules? The cricket board does. So it is on the cricket board to schedule the tour in such a manner that the active and the passive stakeholders get the desired rest between two matches. Don't blame T20 alone for such things. No board wants not to have a T20 tournament in their schedule. No board will be bold enough to say that let's only have a tour where teams play test matches only or one-day matches only, and the only board who have gone to take such a bold step is during the Ashes. And while one can complain that the entire Ashes series finish in 1 month, if you look at the older schedules, the ones before the emergence of the T20 format, the schedules were the same. The Ashes tournament was finishing in a month. Since the world works on demand and supply, and the demand is of the T20 matches, and because of the T20 World Cup in focus, the number of 20 over matches will increase as compared to 2019 when India toured New Zealand and the one-day matches were more in comparison to the test or the T20 matches. Also with the test World Cup around the corner and points being at stake, the organizers and the schedulers have added the test match to the India-New Zealand schedule which was missing from last year's schedule. It's not the team management but the boards who make the schedule, and if they have scheduled which feels like a cramp, then the boards are responsible, not the players, not the particular format. For example, in this India-New Zealand Championship, if they have 5 T20 matches compared to last year's 5 one-day matches, it is simply because of what is in focus. Last year it was the 50 over World Championship. This year it's the 20 over World Championship. So the schedules of 2019 and 2020 mirror each other, except the fact that it's inverted as far as a particular format is concerned. And the teams which are playing the 20 over World Championship, the teams which have qualified for such a tournament, their focus will be on the 20 over matches, irrespective of whom they play against, where they play. The tours will be scheduled and rated in this manner. Once we go towards 2021 and 2022, then it will be the one-dayers in focus with the 2023 World Cup back on the radar again. But by the time the 2023 World Cup arrives, we will have already crowned a 20 over World Champion and a Test World Champion. Now the question is, which are the teams who have an equal chance of winning both the tournaments by the time the year 2023 arrives? By logic, it looks to be England who can win all three, and the closest is India. While teams like New Zealand, South Africa and Australia will have to step up their game as far as the 20 over and the test matches are concerned, if they need to be on a hat trick to win all three titles in a row. And anything is possible in the next couple of years. In fact, not only do we have a 2020 World Cup in Australia, there is also a 2021 World Cup in India. So the 2020 Indian T20 Domestic Championship becomes important as one will see more and more foreign players participate so that they can get acclimatized to the conditions and get ready for the two World Championships. Talking about the 20 over World Championship, the controversy around Dhoni is quite perplexing. Yes, he has not been contracted again by the Indian Cricket Board, but one knows why, because he has not been available since June. Yet I disagree with the clause that has been put in the contract that if a player is active yet not playing, they cannot play in other T20 domestic championships. This kind of restrictive clause is not helpful. In fact, there should be change in the clause with a new chairperson or a president of the Indian Cricket Board, and they should allow players who are not in favor of the current team but are yet not retired to play in other domestic competitions. For example, if Dhoni is not available to play for the team, he should have been allowed to play for the Australian T20 domestic competition, that is the BBL, so that he could get acclimatized to the conditions and be ready for the 2020 World Cup. Even if this would have been seen as being a little greedy, giving more importance to domestic teams over international teams, but with Dhoni not currying a favor with the current team management and so many clauses put that he will have to play well in the T20 domestic championship, then why not allow him to play in other domestic championships? Not only Dhoni, allow other players who are not in favor of the team management to play such tournaments so that they can get acclimatized, not be bullied by the board, which makes sure that no other T20 domestic championship of any other country gets the higher privilege. Such inflexible policies of the board have to change. Board cannot see the Australian or any other T20 domestic championship as a rival, because such obstinate and obdurate thoughts will help no one. Because if the board doesn't allow Indian players to play in other 20-over domestic matches, then they cannot force foreign players to play in the Indian domestic 20-over championship when those players are not available, or the cricket board of those respective countries should be equally rigid as to have the same policies that the Indian board has. And if the Indian board sees other domestic championships as a rival, then the other cricket board have an equal right to do the same, because I have not seen such rigid policies ever. Such policies will hit them in the long run. 20 women wrestlers and 20 men wrestlers will participate in the Royal Rumble and hope to win it to main event WrestleMania. With the Raw Women's and the SmackDown Women's Championship on the line separately, the winner of these two championship matches will face the winner of the Royal Rumble. Now the question is, which of these two brands gets the higher importance? With Lacey Evans taking on Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship and Asuka taking on Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship, will these two champions retain their championships respectively, or will we see new champion when WrestleMania begins? And the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble, who will they choose? Will they choose the SmackDown Women's Championship or the Raw Women's Championship? Will go a long way in deciding the brand supremacy. It's the same for the Men's Championship, with Brock Lesnar inducting himself in the Royal Rumble. What will happen if Brock Lesnar manages to win? He might face the winner of the Universal Championship, the match that will take place between Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt, and we could see a winner-take-all match. But at this point in time, it's difficult to say who will win the Royal Rumble match. Though a Royal Rumble match is taking place in another sport, one knows that Dhawan is injured, so Rahul might open. But if Dhawan is available and one presumes that Rohit is the designated opener till the time Rohit is not in favor of the team management, then there is a Royal Rumble match between Dhawan and Rahul. And for now, Dhawan's injury has given Rahul a chance. But if tomorrow Dhawan returns, then these two will grapple for that opening slot. And who will go over the ropes will be an important match to watch. But the Rahul Dhawan grappling is for a different time. Let's return to the Royal Rumble match, actual event. In fact, the entire scenario of Raw has changed with Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy beating the Viking Raiders to become the Raw Tag Team Championships. And if both Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins find themselves in the Royal Rumble match and face to face with each other, then what happens is something that will be very interesting. How long will this partnership survive when it comes to main eventing WrestleMania? On the other hand, the SmackDown Tag Team Championships has a different look to it, with the number of tag teams crowding to win that coveted SmackDown Tag Team Championships. With the return of the Usos, they are in line for challenging the New Day for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, but with Bobby Roode, Dolph Ziggler, the Revival, the Street Profits, it might go on to become a tag team elimination match at the Royal Rumble, or even a night before that. We might have a triple threat elimination match, and the team which wins between the Usos, Revival, Dolph Ziggler, Bobby Roode, and the Street Profits might challenge New Day for the tag team championships. And Roman Reigns continues his non-title match, means he will face Baron Corbin for a false count anywhere match just before the Royal Rumble, and the winner of that match might have a psychological advantage at the Royal Rumble event. As is the nature of the Royal Rumble event, don't be surprised if there are surprises, if a few wrestlers or superstars, as one calls them, return. Because the nature of the Royal Rumble is such that it allows every wrestler, whether they are semi-retired or almost retired, to come out of that cage and once again cement their authority on this match. So as far as the Royal Rumble winner is concerned, any of the 30 men and women wrestlers have an equal chance. So it won't be surprising if the established individuals win it. And in this direction, there are no advantages or disadvantages for any of the wrestlers, be it the women wrestlers or the men's wrestlers. Let's look at this line and analyze it word by word. With mental health issues becoming more and more prevalent, society in turn is growing more and more accepting of the impacts of mental health on one's overall well-being. I agree to disagree with this line. First of all, mental health, as the term goes, is a state of mind. Making it into an important issue doesn't belie the fact that talking about anxiety, stress, mental issues is making a mountain out of a molehill. It's not whether mental health is becoming more and more prevalent, it's whether why should anybody be anxious about anything? Why should anyone be stressed? For what reasons should anyone be stressed? Why are we putting the onus of stress only in the current or the contemporary times? Why is everything linked to modern day lifestyles? Is something I do not understand. And then comes the most perplexing study of all, that mental health issues are linked to anxiety, which are linked to eating disorders. So if you are anxious, you will eat more. That will lead to obesity and other health related issues. So it all is a vicious circle. Let's look at what the study says. The study states the contribution of depressive orders and eating disorders to the total disability adjusted life years, that is daily, was substantially higher in females than in males. He also says that eating disorder comes from the lack of self-esteem. It has its roots in childhood. It has nothing to do with adult life. If it's a question of childhood, then parents and teachers are responsible for the same. Because as parents and teachers, we put pressure on children to get high marks so that they can get into a good college and in turn get a good job, high paying job. Till the time such discourse is taking the main stage, then such issues will continue to be prevalent. The moment we tell our children that your marks are not significant, you getting into a good college is part of a luck and bit of hard work. If we lower down the intensity as far as marks and college and high paying jobs are concerned, then children will never be depressed. Till the time we lower down the expectation or lower down the fantasy around high marks and other such subsidiary issues, children will continue to be stressed and in turn their adult life will be affected. This in turn has to be the education system, the way we have curated the education system, despite the new education policy coming up, the only discussion in the higher circles with the administration is about the enrollment ratio, the pass ratio. That is the only way two institutions are compared as to which institution has more students getting placed as far as the colleges are concerned, and we create this atmosphere that if the pass ratio of a school or if the dropout ratio of a school is high, or if the students are unable to read or understand basic language and mathematics, then there is a problem in the education system. No, it's not about that. It's not just in academics, it's even in sports. We put the pressure on young athletes to get medals all the time. We make them go through paces, we don't give them rest. They are burnt out, and when they are burnt out, what happens? They are not ready to have that same intensity when they grow up. So it has to be changed. The mentality of the parents, the administration, the teachers has to change if we are to not discuss about mental health issues and eating disorders, because everyone is equally responsible for such ailments, not just eating disorders. Now another gem has come up by some experts. 5 healthy habits at 50 can keep ailments at bay. Why do you want ailments at 50? So, what is a healthy lifestyle? No smoking, check. Eating healthy, balanced diet, that is questionable. 30 minutes of moderate or vigorous activity every day, that depends where you live, what is your immediate environment. A body mass index between 18.5 and 24.9. Let's not make such frivolous numbers important. And no more alcohol than a small glass of wine a day for women and a pint of beer for men. Let's not have a standard of the idea of the healthy lifestyle. To each person, its own idea of what is a healthy lifestyle, as long as they know what they are doing. It's not whether we are discussing the idea of a healthy lifestyle, it's when we are discussing it. Where was this discussion 20 years ago? Why was it dormant? Why are we inventing terms such as depression, stress, and making them into something monstrous? Because if we do not, then what happens? A prolonged state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion or burnout is associated with a potentially deadly heart rhythm disturbance, according to a study which may lead to new interventions to reduce workplace stress. The operative work here being workplace stress. That's also something we need to improve. And the workplace stress does not come when you are working, it comes right from one's childhood. Once again, the debate is we have to stop making marks an important criteria every time. We have to let marks as they are be. Either you get 75% or 100%. Do not make one individual who gets 75% a bad person, and do not gloat about the individual who gets 100%, because that is also one of the reasons for a prolonged state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion. As parents, as administrators, as teachers, we have to stop comparing the marks of students, and the moment till we do not stop this ill-tempered exercise, the debate around depression, whether be it emotional, physical, or psychological, will never end. And the imaginary lifestyle disease will always hog the limelight. This ends episode number 159 on the 22nd of January 2020. Stay tuned for episode number 160, a Republic Day special episode coming to you live on the 24th of January 2020.
This is Saurabh, and you're listening to my favorite talk show, The Weekly Show with Aditya.